All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Raise Your Bars podcast. I'm excited to be here, Chris. We've been on hiatus, I guess you could say. Maybe
Mhm.
I think that's the official word on a hiatus for probably about a month now. With sadly you
Yeah.
fell ill and then you were away and then I'm going away next week. So
Mhm.
it's summer holidays. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But it's good to see you. It's good to be back, and we're back with module 4 of our Mindset Mastery series. We have 2 lessons we're going to do in this podcast, and then when I'm back from holidays, and then Chris is back from teaching at Disney in California for a couple of weeks, we'll record module 5 and wrap this series up. And we really hope you've gotten some value from this so far. And again, if you haven't already, go to our Raise Your Bars Personal Growth Solutions Facebook group and download the worksheets for this lesson. And you can also catch all the past lessons there video wise. You can check it out on our YouTube channels as well as our respective podcast platforms.
Mhm.
And today we're going to talk about a problem solving mindset, Chris. You ready
Cool.
to go?
I am. Just what what you say, if you are watching it on YouTube, please subscribe as well and hit the little
Yes.
bell icon so that you get notifications as the new episodes come out.
Perfect. Perfect. Please do that. Yes. So, module 4, problem solving mindset. Now, even if you don't identify as a problem solver, well, you solve problems every day. Yeah, I'm hungry. You decide what to cook or what to snack on, or my apartment lease is up in 2 months and you decide where to live and find a rental, or I'm bored and you pick a movie to watch on Netflix. Now, we tend to stumble when solving problems that are complex, have far reaching implications, or affect multiple people. But if you take a step back, you'll see all problems are solved using a similar process. People with a problem solving mindset understand this. Now, a problem solving mindset goes hand in hand with other positive mindsets, including the growth, abundance, and creative mindset, and is often included as a characteristic of these mindsets. Now, instead of fearing or being demotivated by challenges, people with problem solving mindsets are energized, seeing them as an opportunity to grow. If you face problems head on, you limit their power over you.
Mhm.
You'll also reduce stress by acting instead of worrying or complaining.
Absolutely, yeah. And in this module, you'll learn more about the problem-solving mindset. You'll be identify your current problem-solving style and discover ways that you can nurture a problem-solving mindset. So, lesson one, what is a problem solving mindset? And lesson two, how to nurture a problem solving mindset.
Perfect.
So, what's our learning objective? Well, our learning objective is to distinguish the traits and advantages of a problem solving mindset. So, a problem solving mindset is essential in work and in life in general. Whether it be big or small, we encounter problems every single day. Now, the ability to face problems head on is essential to leadership, success, happiness, and personal satisfaction and growth. There are benefits of a problem solving mindset. First of all, you gain confidence. Second, it reduces anxiety and stress. Third, it will improve your leadership skills. It will help you reach goals. And then you'll be able to resolve problems before they become unmanageable.
Hmm.
That'd be nice.
Absolutely.
Establishing yourself as a problem solver boosts your reputation and leadership skills. No matter what your job is, your area of expertise, or who your partner is, or how many friends you have, people tend to evaluate you based on your ability to solve problems. And nobody wants to deal with problems. So if you aren't adept at solving them, it will affect your personal and your professional relationships. If you have a problem solving mindset, you're seen as someone who is action oriented and reliable because you're not afraid of the unknown. You'll be able to make decisions quickly, reach your goals, and prevent problems from becoming overblown. Now, problem solving mindset leads to more creativity, innovation, resilience, and success.
Absolutely. So, what are some characteristics of a problem solving mindset? Well, people who embrace the problem solving mindset tend to have these traits in common. They see problems as opportunities. People with a problem solving mindset don't turn down a chance to learn something new and are constantly expanding their horizons. They don't stick with the known or the proven. They're creative thinkers. They can look at a problem from different angles and perspectives, and then they redefine it if necessary. Sometimes what we think is a problem isn't actually a problem, and people with a problem-solving mindset don't take anything for granted and are willing to challenge commonly held beliefs or assumptions. They also have a process. From scheduling conflicts to major life changes, people with a problem solving mindset tackle issues in the same way. It's not necessarily a formal process they are even aware of, but they routinely go through the steps of identifying a problem, analyzing it, sharing it, reflecting on it, and then solving it.
They're also not afraid of discomfort or conflict. Problem solving isn't always easy or hassle free. In groups, teams, or even within families, solving a problem sometimes comes with debate or conflict. Now, people with a problem solving mindset are willing to wade through this because their ultimate goal is an effective solution. They listen to their gut. Their experience facing problems head on has taught problem solvers to recognize patterns and gut feelings. They apply past knowledge and use their intuition to make connections and come up with solutions. They go beyond the current problem. They solve problems with the future in mind. Unless absolutely necessary, short term band aid solutions are not within their toolkit. Now, people with a problem solving mindset seek out long term solutions. They don't just resolve the current issue, they work to uncover opportunities and potential growth. They secure buy in from everyone involved. Effective problem solvers know that they need to reach consensus and gain agreement and commitment from all parties. A problem solved unilaterally without consultation is not really solved. It can come back to bite you.
And nobody wants that. So,
No.
how do you approach problems? Well, now that you've learned a bit more about problem solving mindset, where do you think you stand? Have you identified characteristics that you can build upon to enhance your problem solving ability? And soon we're going to learn about personal problem solving style and why we tend to avoid problems and practical steps to cultivate a problem solving mindset.
Mm.
So, we're going to look at a few key takeaways and action steps. Like I said, we're doing two lessons in this one podcast because they were shorter. So, Chris, take away the takeaways.
Well, I mean, first of all, Al, we're all problem solvers, right?
Hmm.
At the end of the day, but many of us stumble when solving problems that are complex or that affect multiple people. The second key takeaway is a problem solving mindset will improve leadership skills. Now, again, you may say, well, I'm not a leader. Well, you are, because if you influence other people, they follow you, therefore you're a leader. So,
Yeah,
this is talking about life in general. You want to be improving your leadership skills. It will also help you resolve problems before they become unmanageable, thereby reducing anxiety and stress, which obviously that's something we all want.
absolutely.
Another the big one, and the last one we'll leave you on here, is that people with this problem solving mindset will see problems as opportunities. All right, let me get that. So the problem, they don't see it as a problem, they see it as an opportunity. They're not afraid of conflict. They listen to their gut and then they tend to seek out those long-term solutions.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, when you look for, let's face it, if you get trapped in that always the problems, this is the hand I've been dealt, and that negative mentality and that negative thinking, you kind of get stuck there. You got to be very careful, and you don't want to get trapped there because your life can literally pass before you and you never reached your fullest potential. But if
Right.
you look at it, what is the opportunity through this struggle? How can I learn? How can I grow? Then it becomes a win.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's there's the whole thing about when you get that problem, you go through that sort of anger cycle or denial, right? Where you don't believe it is a problem, or you're just looking at the symptom rather than digging
Hmm.
down to what's the cause. And it takes intentionality to do it, but you can do
Yeah,
it. But if you like what you say, if we fall into that trap of like, woe is me, everything's going wrong, whatever I do turns to rubbish. Well, then be careful what you wish for, because if that's
yeah,
the
that's what you're
mindset,
gonna get.
that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, Chris, I've been doing some studying on a gentleman named Orison Martin, and it's actually kind of cool, his life story. And he actually was like sort of a predecessor to Napoleon Hill and some of those great thought leaders, and wrote a number
Mm,
of books in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And one part I learned this past week or so was when he was 42 years old, I believe it was, he had 4 hotels and a 5,000 book personal library. And when he was
wow.
42, all of that burned down. He
Oh,
lost
no.
everything, lost everything. And he says, if I had let that get to me, right, then
Mhm.
he would have never succeeded. He would have got trapped there in this, oh, woe is me type of attitude. But he said that fire released him to do what he was meant to do, and that was to write books and teach about
Yeah.
success principles. And so he wrote his first book 2 years later, published his first book, and then he started Success Magazine in the early 1900s. And what a cool story about solving the problem, right? He didn't get trapped in the circumstances that happened, lost his hotel empire, lost his 5,000 book library. He
Yeah.
looked at it as, this is the opportunity to now start doing what I'm really called to do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
good.
It's like turning adversity into advantage, right? We
Yeah.
had that, like when COVID came out, we had that program from John Maxwell, and
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
you taught it as well as I did, and really we were talking at the time about how we shouldn't be, as companies and as individuals, we shouldn't be hiding behind COVID and using that as an excuse for
Mm-hmm.
what's going wrong. We should be saying, what do we learn from it, and how can we move forward and make an advantage? And some companies have done that, and some of them haven't. And
Right.
the ones that have done it, in my opinion, are the ones that are succeeding now. Excuse me, and are better set for the future because they are doing what we're talking here, and problem solving, right?
And you know
Looking,
what? And some of them didn't do it, aren't around anymore. Just a few years
correct,
later, right? So, hey,
correct.
folks, there's some action steps that you want to. We're not going to read all of these off for you. Go to your action guide and look at the action steps and answer those questions in your action guide. And we're going to move on to sort of the less part 2 of our podcast tonight. And this is nurturing a problem solving mindset. So, to nurture a problem solving mindset, we first need to recognize and modify the behaviors and responses that could be holding us back. Similar to the stress response of fight, flight, or freeze, we generally react to problems in 3 ways: we
Mm,
solve, ignore, or freeze. When we solve the problem, this is the ideal response. We solve it, right? We face it head on. It may not be pleasant at first, but we know a problem will only get worse if we
mm,
don't acknowledge it. So
yeah,
face it
sure.
head on, deal with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think the opposite of that is ignore, right? It's the
Hmm.
equivalent of the flight. We ignore the problem, we move on to something else. We sort of brush it under the carpet and hope it goes away, or maybe somebody else will deal with it and we won't have to. And then the last one is freeze. And this can be the most uncomfortable response of all. The problem is there, and you can comprehend the ramifications of responding incorrectly or not at all, but you're unable to let it go. You can't deal with it either. You're frozen in your tracks. And not dealing with problems, either by ignoring them or freezing, can have extremely detrimental effects on our lives. It wears on us and deflates us, not just in relation to the problem at hand, but eventually, if we establish a pattern of avoidance in all aspects of our lives, it's going to come back and bite us again. We all instinctively understand this. That's why we usually feel uneasy when we're putting off problems. So, the question, Al, is
Yeah.
why do we find problem solving so difficult?
Well, let's answer that question, Chris. We could look at these different things, and if you're seeing the video of this, you can see it on the screen. But it's stressful to think about them. We don't know where to start in a lot of cases. Escaping works at first, but eventually that problem's still there, right? So we're going to have to face it eventually. We believe we'll create more issues if we attempt to solve the problem. And coping with problems instead of getting rid of them has become normal for us. And we hope someone else will swoop in and fix it. All of these answers have 2 root causes: fear and lack of confidence. We not only doubt our ability to solve problems, we think our attempt to solve our problems will only make them worse. And we don't want to make a mistake. And I can think this fear of failure comes into play again a little bit here, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And this is one of those things where, again, we want to avoid the fear of failure and instead adopt the fear of regret, right? So we need to
Hmm.
get on it because hope is not a good strategy. So,
Absolutely.
um, here's some tips to remove the fear from problem solving. First of all, acknowledge the fear and don't be ashamed of it. Too many people will deny they've got that fear, but it's there. So, sort of welcome it, embrace it, and then release it and then move on.
Hmm.
Right. The second is what we've been talking about. Adopt a problem solving process. Reframe problems as opportunities. Stop catastrophizing and expecting the worst. And finally, get comfortable with making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not growing, right? You're not
Hmm.
trying hard enough. So you should be making mistakes, as we do on a probably a daily basis, Al, if we're honest about it.
Absolutely.
So problems threaten our sense of security. But if we change our approach and instead we look at problems as choices and problem solving as a process, it somehow gets easier.
Yeah, and if you've tended to ignore problems in the past or felt ill-equipped to deal with them, here's an action plan to help you solve problems and enhance your problem-solving mindset. First of all, recognize the problem. Recognize it. That's the first step to this. This can be difficult when it's a problem related to something very personal or important to you, but it's easy to lose perspective. But problems leave clues. Multiple conversations about the same topic, increased frustration, employees leave, friends start to tune out, decreased sales, abandoned carts. That feeling in the pit of your stomach.
So get to know the problem intimately. Define the problem further. Go beyond that gut feeling and clues and dig deeper. Use those sort of 5 levels of why to get there.
Hmm.
What caused the problem? When did you first notice it? What are its far reaching effects? What happens if it doesn't get solved? Then look at the problem from different vantage points. Take the problem to a wider audience, look at it from different angles, talk it out and share it with others. Excuse me. Getting other people's perspectives can often give you a fresh outlook on the problem. Now this could include employees, right, and team members, or your spouse and close friends. Depends on the nature of the problem. If it's a business problem, do some market research. What are other people seeing? Poll your followers, read social media comments, see what the competition is doing, review statistics and business insights from social media accounts and analytics from your website and email marketing platforms.
The next is take time for self reflection. You've gathered external information. Now it's time to go within. Journaling about your problems, writing a pro con list, meditating on it, go for a walk and think about solutions. All of this will help you clear your mind, center yourself a little bit, I guess you could say, sort of center yourself and get the clutter out of your mind and even onto paper, right? Or get it out of your mind and out in the, and just sort of even talk about it as you're walking. Chris goes and walks his dogs and thinks about stuff, right? That's his thinking time.
Yeah,
It's a great
every
way
day.
to release the stresses of the day and just think into what's going on in your world. And of course, solve it. Put a solution in place. Choose a course of action and commit to it. This doesn't mean it's set in stone. The results or people's reactions may provide feedback indicating you need to change course. And that's part of the problem solving process, being flexible, adapting, and exploring that willingness to fail at first.
Mm. And let's face it, most people as we said earlier, have a fear of failure. But
Hmm.
that's a fact of life, again, when you're adopting that growth mindset and the problem solving mindset. So
Absolutely.
let's put it all together. A problem solving mindset requires the ability to face up to challenges and deal with them as soon as possible. Removing behaviors and fears that prevent action are an important part of the process. Another essential part of your problem solving toolkit is an easy to follow process, one which removes indecision and makes the problem feel much more manageable. By gaining confidence in your ability to solve problems and establishing a process, you will adopt a problem solving mindset and ultimately reap the rewards. So again, let's look at some key takeaways. First of all, people tend to react to problems in one of three ways. They either solve it, they ignore it, or they freeze. Which do you do? All right, so think about that. Which is your natural tendency when you're faced with problems? And it could be that it depends on the scale of the problem, but be honest with yourself and maybe think about two or three problems that you've encountered recently and start to look at it and say, hey, what did I do? The second key takeaway is sometimes we avoid problems due to fear and a lack of confidence. Now, if we can learn to look at problems as those choices and look at problem solving as a process, it will get easier. So, steps to solving a problem. First of all, acknowledge it, right? It exists. So don't ignore it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to acknowledge that the problem's there. Then really like learn to understand what is the real problem. So again, it's not necessarily what you're seeing, but dig deeper. What is that real problem? Research into potential options and choices that you can do, reflect on what it is that you're doing, and ultimately solve the damn problem.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Solve it and move forward. Move
Yeah.
forward. Hey folks, so there's a whole bunch of action steps and some follow-up questions in the action guide. Again, go over to the Raise Your Bars Personal Growth Solutions Facebook page. It's free to join. All of the files there for all of these lessons on mindset mastery are there under the files tab, ready for you to download. And I highly encourage you, go to work on it because
Yeah.
like Chris said, right? We have to deal with the problem. We're eventually going to have to deal with the problem. We're going to have to work on our mindset if we want to get that which we desire out of life. If we want to reach that level of success, whatever that means to you in life, then we have to work on our mindset. And I know Chris and
Mhm.
I are very passionate about that, about this mindset mastery, mastering our own mindset so we can move forward, serve our clients more effectively, serve our teams more effectively, be more creative in life. And man, I've really enjoyed this series so far, Chris.
Yeah. It's really eye opening, and honestly, Al, it's one of those things that I don't know a human on the planet that could say I'm not faced with problems.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anybody that could honestly say that. So therefore, this applies to everybody. And the volume of your problems, the scale of your problems, the intensity of your problems may vary, but you
Mm-hmm.
will all have problems, right? And so
Absolutely.
learning how to overcome those is massive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
once you learn how to overcome them, then what we're doing is we're then sort of looking forward and we're overcoming those problems before they become problems because we're
Yeah,
seeing more
exactly.
than
Yeah.
before. I think as John
Yeah.
Maxwell would have
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. I love that too, seeing more and before.
Yeah,
Hey, so if you are a business owner, Chris and I want to highly encourage you to go to raiseyourbars.com, watch our short 6, 7 minute webinar over there, and then book a call with us because we have we're co-owners of a profit software. And this software does a deep dive assessment on your business and can help you find literally tens of thousands of dollars of missed
mm,
opportunity in your business. So if you are a business owner and you are looking at ways to increase your profit, and if you're a business owner, you should be looking for ways to increase your profit.
yeah. I don't
Okay,
know a business owner that
there's
isn't looking to increase their profit.
there's no other answer to that except yes, I'm looking for ways to increase your profit. Then book a call with Chris and I.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you something. We charge $697 to do the profit assessment with you, but if we don't find a minimum of a 25% increase in profit in your business after doing this assessment, we'll refund you the $697. So reach out to us, raiseyourbars.com, book an appointment with us. We'd love to chat with you and show you how we can help you find those hidden profits in your business. And again, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends, family, coworkers, and join us on Raise Your Bars Personal Growth Solutions Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channels.
yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Bye for now.